Um, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, at this point, it's kind of hard to say. It was a lot of work, so that's how it's affected me this year. But as far as my life in the future, I mean, I did plan my gap year to Spain, so I know that's going to provide an experience for me. I'm going to learn a lot from that, just about how to be independent too, because I am going alone. So I guess in that aspect, it's helped me a lot. Because that's my first time outside of the United States, and it's really been I guess a gateway for me to plan a trip like that. So
I don't know, it made it a lot harder.
They really haven't. I've just procrastinated them. I feel like most kids do the same.
Probably math. That's about it.
Definitely not.
Not really. I guess it's proportional to how you mature, and also depends on how much you apply yourself to classes. If you don't apply yourself, classes can be really easy, I guess. You won't get as good of grades, obviously, and you won't get as much out of the classes. I mean, you can get an A for not trying very hard in any class, or you can get an A for while trying very hard and learn more. So they haven't really increased in difficulty, I guess, just in they've changed. So.
I felt like I was losing some good teachers that I really wanted and really needed for those classes in order for me to be able to fully experience the classes. And so as they changed the curriculum, I also kind of got behind. As in Spanish, we started out with one book and then we moved to a new one, and I felt like I was missing some core skills, and I don't think they should keep changing the curriculum, otherwise students will be getting behind and not knowing what they're learning about.
Well, it was kind of hard starting out freshman year. The only change in curriculum that I had to deal with was for Spanish. Freshman year, they used a different book, and then they changed the curriculum. And so it was really, really hard the second year because we had to do a lot more catch up, and it was a lot more work.
Yeah. They don't really.
Student Senate, I'm a member of Student Senate, and I feel like we are really productive, and admittedly there are some days we don't get that much done, but I feel like we're doing something for the student body and really helping it in involving the students more, like connecting seniors to freshmen and kind of breaking down that age barrier. And we're also doing things that are really positively affecting our school. So.
Well, freshman year, I remember I was in Student Senate. In all honesty, I think it's a waste of time. Any people that I know now that are in Student Senate, they say they do nothing, so, I think it's a waste of time.
Student Senate was retarded. Student Senate, all it is a bunch of kids going there and goofing around for the entire advisory period. So I guess it's a good way to get out of advisory. But nobody really does anything there. And half the kids there come in high or are sleeping there. So it's really not accomplished anything except for painting the halls.
Okay.
The painting of the halls is a really good way to get students involved in what's going on at their school, and I was a member of Paint the Halls, and I feel like it's just fun, and we've dedicated every hall to a business that we can fundraise for, so that's just a fun way to get students involved and have fun little competitions between grade levels.
I think it actually made our school happy. Like, it just made it look nice and be a place where you actually wanted to be.
The halls didn't affect me at all in any way. The only way I think I think it only affected people who were in Student Senate.
I like the pink one. I like the pink one a lot. It's pretty awesome.
I thought it just made the walls a little more colorful.
I think that was probably one of the worst things they could have done, because The study halls, although some people screwed around in them, a lot of people took that time to get their homework done and get help on things, and so they worked really well for me.
Yeah, I didn't like that too much. I don't think anybody does really. No, I didn't really like that much.
I don't agree with it fully. I mean, maybe for freshmen and maybe sophomores it would make sense, but it's actually been a very helpful thing for me during senior year to have the study hall. It's a good way to catch up on classes and get help from teachers when you need it, especially like with classes like calc.
I think that study halls are needed for people like me that are busy, work full time, stuff like that. Especially when you're a senior and a junior, you need those times because you don't always have time at home. And when your classes are getting increasingly harder and you're having more homework, or you need more one-on-one time with teachers and stuff like that, I think that study halls are really a necessary thing that students should have.
I think advisory is a good idea, but it depends on the mentality of your advisor too, because I know some teachers in the school aren't so stoked about the idea of an advisory, and because of that they don't try as hard to make the advisory necessarily beneficial to their students. I mean, I'm in Sherry Earhart's advisory and Mr. McHugh's advisory, and I love it. I mean, I've grown really close to all the kids that are in that advisory, and if it had not been for that advisory, I wouldn't have grown close to most of the people who were in it. So, I mean, you look at our advisory and you see a really positive change that advisory has brought, but then you can look at the other aspects of it, which is that Mr. McHugh has a really great attitude about advisory, and so does Sherry. But I know some teachers don't have that. So I think in order to make advisory work and in order to make it good, the people who are running it need to be into it as well.
In advisory, I personally liked homeroom better when we had it as freshmen, but advisory has helped me with senior project. I guess it helped me stay on track and make sure I had things turned in and had the right things ready when they needed to be. I know if it hadn't been there, senior project would have been a little bit more of a struggle because I wouldn't have, I guess, gotten the motivation to do anything on senior project.
I feel advisory, the only way I actually use advisory in a positive way is using it as a study hall.
I'm allowed to sleep, so it helps me catch up on some of my sleep. And once in a while I can use it for study halls if I feel rested. And then if I ever do feel the need to talk to an advisor about anything, I can, although the situation has never arisen.
Okay. What do you think of our school lunches?
I don't like school lunches. Yeah, oof. I don't like school lunches. I think they need to be improved. I think kids are going out more and more, and that is not always a better option because oftentimes when you go out they eat fast food, which is not better for them. But I do think school lunches need to be changed. They're just gross.
Well, I did eat school lunches all year freshman year and most of your sophomore year, but I kind of veered away from them because they're not very good, I guess, personal opinion. They aren't very nutritious, at least as far as I can tell. I mean, the salad, for example, that they have there is just iceberg lettuce, which is just water. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the school lunches. I've actually kind of made it a personal thing this year to not eat school lunch.
Our school lunches are terrible. They're like the food, some of the food is okay, but most of it's just unappealing and probably isn't the best food for us.
The lunches are terrible, absolutely terrible. I mean, the food is cheap and it's just gross.
Yuck. It's awful. No offense to the lunch ladies, of course. Just not very good at all. Tastes like dog.
You know what dog tastes like?
No, but I know what a zoo smells like, and that's what the burritos taste like.
We are in the year 2010, and we have internet that runs like it's 1994. So that's what I think about the schools. And it's hard to say. I mean, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive for the school to provide quick internet, and it's not easy to have like 1,000 kids on the same internet server and have quick internet. But I know for a fact that there is something that can be done about it, and I think something needs to be done about it. So, I mean, the speed of it should be improved. Now, as far as the filtering system goes, it blocks out like 70% of what is on the web at all, which I think is a little bit ridiculous, like how it blocks YouTube. When in reality, there's a lot of things that you can get on YouTube that are benevolent. I mean, that can help you study, that can help you in your studies. And I try and find like song lyrics online or poems online for an English class, and it blocks half the websites I go to. Even if you're looking for something that's only going to help you and you don't see any reason for why it might have been blocked, you'll find out that it's blocked, and that's really frustrating. So I think that the filtering system needs to be changed up a little bit, which is probably easier said than done, but that's just my feeling about it.
I feel that our internet access is really, really censored, and it kind of sets you back if you're doing anything at home, because it sets you back a lot, in my opinion.
Internet access sucks. I think students should be allowed to access a lot more sites than they are. Most students can't even get on sites just because it might say one bad word or something.
Our internet access is really slow, and a lot of the things that could have helped us are denied, like the access isn't granted. And so I think that affects their learning because it limits us as to what we can get done and what we can do.
I think the school has gone to such extents to block students from going to certain sites that it has actually slowed down the possibility for students to research papers. I know that if the site that you're trying to load has like Flash on it or any kind of animation or videos, it's pretty much impossible to load, because if it's not blocked already, it'll be hindered by the whoever is running the site, the school, the web or the internet access of the school. And if it has those things, it loads very, very slow.
Our assemblies this year, I feel like they have been poorly put together. I feel like there are a few of them that have been really beneficial, such as when Dr. Apostle came and talked about graduation, or when the Montana Meth Project came. But others have just been, I feel like, poorly put together, unorganized, just kind of random, and no one really knows what's going on.
The assemblies this year, they're assemblies. I mean, they're fun. They're informative. I think they're only informative if they're used to be informative. But I mean, for the most part, they're just a lot of fun. And I don't know a lot of people who don't look forward to assemblies. Of course, I guess aside from the people who just skip them in general, but I've always looked forward to assemblies. I think they're fun. And that's as far as this year goes. I mean, last year was like the best year ever in terms of assemblies. It was just so much fun. But this year it seems like the classes aren't as into it. So I guess that's how it's changed a little bit this year, and I hope that kind of curves up in the future.
I think there's been too many of them. Waste of time most of the time, I think. I mean, certain assemblies are useful and they have their purposes, but these are things that I know that in my advisory we wish we would have had some time to practice more for our presentations rather than sitting in on a sports assembly or something. Like I said, there's too many, and they're good quality, but I think it's just an unnecessary thing.
Our assemblies have been really boring and uneventful this year, to say the least. They haven't really... I mean, assemblies, when you think of an assembly, it's supposed to be fun, but it's supposed to be informational too. And I think ours are just mostly informational, and they don't get a lot of interaction from the kids and stuff.
Most of them are kind of boring, but they're not that bad.
I mean, they were okay, but they were kind of a nuisance. I mean, nobody really wanted to go to them, I don't think. But it provided a nice break from advisory, so.
Block schedule is great because I work full time, 2 jobs, and it's really hard to get all my stuff done when I need it done. And so I feel like having that extra day, it's better, and especially in math because I need that extra time. That way if I don't understand a concept, I can come in, talk to a teacher, have a day to understand it, go back, finish what I know, and finish off with the new stuff I learned. And it's just so helpful. And that's one of the main reasons I had actually chosen to come to Big Sky was because of the block schedule. I didn't think I could handle another school with 7 classes a day.
I'm a big proponent of the block schedule. I like it a lot because it's made it a lot easier for me to do well in classes that are just genuinely hard to do well in. And I've iterated this point for the administration and for the MCPS board. It's just, and when you have 4 classes a day, you have you have 1 class every other day. So say you're taking a really hard math class, so AP Calc, and you have that every other day. You get your homework assignment on Monday and it's due on Wednesday. You've got all of Tuesday to go in and get help on that homework assignment if you need it. And I think that that's a really, really good thing for kids because I took pre-calc with Miss Leibenguth my junior year, and I know that if it weren't for block schedule, I probably wouldn't have even passed that class. I'll be straight up honest with you, because block schedule just allows for more time in between classes for students to get help and for students to get their work done. And I think that that's important.
And
I really like the block schedule. It's allowed me to have an extra day to do my homework and just more time in class with teachers and less time walking between classes. So I feel like it's really helped me.
okay, thank you.
The block schedule has helped me out a lot. It helps me get my homework done, and like things that I wouldn't be able to do in one night for all my classes, I can do it in 2 nights instead, which helps a lot.
Block schedule, I'm a fan of. I mean, at my middle school, we had 7 periods a day, and I mean, it was middle school, completely different thing than high school, but block schedule is very helpful for getting homework done, and it also provides more time for teachers to get one-on-one time with students and help them learn. I mean, especially with math classes in particular, if you're struggling on a certain subject, I know the teachers have prep periods that can help you, and they can help you for a long time and help you get past the struggles that you're having in your classes.
Okay, thank you.
I kind of have some mixed emotions about that. When they first told me I was being transferred, it was a bombshell. No one came in and said anything about what we've accomplished here, and then they just said you wouldn't be here and that you'd know later where you're going. Since then, I've met some of the people at Washington. There are fine staff there, some wonderful kids there, just like there are at Big Sky, and I think I'll be fine. I will miss the people and the relationships I've got at Big Sky here.
Well, I was heartbroken at first. I kind of knew it was coming because since I've taken on the Smaller Learning Communities grant and it's ending this year, I knew that there was a budget cut, that there was cutting a full-time counselor. So I was figuring it was coming. I was kind of like, I guess in denial that it was actually going to happen. I was hoping that there would be another spot for me somewhere doing a special assignment. But with the transfers of other people within the district, especially Paul Johnson, who really supported me in my work, I kind of figured that was not going to happen. So I had a pretty, to be honest, bad attitude about it. And then I went over to Sentinel High School and did a job shadow last week and started talking to students and realized that, you know, the most important thing is that I am working with students and that I have the privilege of working with students, and I get to continue that work. So I felt, if I have a place, I'd much rather do it in this building because I have a connection and feel like I'm part of a community at Big Sky. But realizing that I will continue and restart building a community at Sentinel. And I've heard I'm quite needed there, so it makes me feel like I have some purposeful work ahead of me, which anytime you're in a counseling role at a high school, obviously you do. But I'll still be serving students, so I have a little better attitude, but my heart will always have some piece of it at Big Sky.
Me. I think what happened was that the economy, the bad economy that everybody else has been feeling around the country for, the last couple of years or so, kind of finally trickled down to Montana. I think we were a little bit insulated for a while. But what's happened is that, the organization that runs my program, Western Montana Mental Health and Flagship, they didn't come up with as much money this year in grants and donations as they thought they would. And so because there's a budget shortfall, I'll have to finish the school year early this year. On May 14th will be my last day. And, I'm not real happy about that. I'd like to be here until the end of the school year. It just feels like something that if you start the school year, you should finish it out. But it's not really my decision either, so I'm disappointed about it. But, I'll know on July 1st whether I'm back next year or not. So I'm just kind of hanging out right now and waiting to hear what the budget looks like for next year.
Okay.
Well, the relationships with the students, it's just, especially students that I know for all 4 years of their high school, I kind of feel bad ducking out early in the school year just because I have students that I've kind of trying to help get through the school year. And so I feel like that there's situations where I'm going to be worried about, how those students are doing because I'm not seeing them on a daily basis. I think that's kind of the primary responsibility of my job, is to make those relationships and try and help people enjoy high school. And so for me to not be here for the last month of some people's senior year and other people who are still have a few years left, it's just kind of a bummer and kind of, I think, defeats the purpose of the job in the first place.
Without a doubt, it's the relationships with the community and the parents and the students and the staff that I've learned over the years, and the fact that it's a wonderful school and a nice place to be. I get constantly told by others among the state and community members when they come in and talk to the kids or walk through the halls, what a fine school we have here.
What I love about Big Sky is I feel like Big Sky has a really cool vision and outlook as to what high school can offer. And I feel like there's a big community at Big Sky that wants to do new things, try new things, be strong leaders, and just make happen what they didn't realize would be possible. For example, painting the walls of Big Sky on their own, and not just painting them, but bringing it a step farther and serving our own community while serving other communities through nonprofit organizations. That's just one example of what Big Sky community does really cool, is that they're visionaries, and the staff allows students, because of kind of our frame of mind, really puts that to students saying, be a visionary, be a pioneer, and do that, where you don't necessarily do status quo things around here, which is really cool. My years at Big Sky. When I first got here, it was kind of hard to get connected. I had come from a large school over 2,000 students in a huge metropolitan community to hear. And at first it was difficult because it is such a strong community, because it's smaller and because we're pretty connected with each other. And that was a weakness at first, but now as I got to know Big Sky and our community of parents and students and staff, that is really truly one of our strengths, is we are really connected to each other. I learned that we're pioneers. I think my perspectives really changed from the time I got here, both with the connecting in the community and feeling like it was kind of hard to get in, to realizing that it's not hard to get in, you just have to be part of it, and you don't have to ever invite yourself in, it's just you're part of it. And but the other thing is, again, coming from a metropolitan community, big school, where there's tons of resources and kind of cutting edge stuff, coming here, seeing some of the electives and stuff that were offered for students. At first I was kind of flabbergasted, like, whoa, this is kind of back in time. But realizing that those are important classes, and it's kind of where our roots are. And so I think Big Sky is really strong in tradition, which is a good thing. It's just kind of changing my perspective from one school or one community to the next. And I think Big Sky does some really cool things.
I think the thing I've learned the most is that there are a lot of people around here who know a lot more than I do and are willing to share the information that you need to be successful, and that they're always quick to help. And if you give them a problem to solve, that eventually they will solve the problem and make for everything to improve whatever you need to improve on. And so I think the one thing that I've learned is that there are wonderful people everywhere, and that they're willing to share their expertise.
Oh, that's a big question. I guess it had been a while since I had been around high school students and been in high school myself, so there was kind of a adjustment period when I first got here 7 years ago, to kind of understand what it is about high school that's changed and what it is about high school that's not changed and kind of stayed the same. And so what I've learned has just been kind of what the speed of information, I think, is the primary change, that the students now have access to information unlike any other generation's ever had. So I think that part of it's really interesting. What have I learned? This is a tough question. I guess the message that I would give to people when they ask me about what it's like to work in a high school, I think they have a lot of stereotypes about what high school students are like, and I think that I run my program in a way where I really ask the high school students to take a lot of responsibility for the success of their programs. And so what I would say is, I've learned that the high school students are very intelligent, capable young adults that you can accomplish a lot of great things with if you are able to organize them and tap into their talents, and that's just the most enjoyable part of my job. I think I'm working with incredibly talented young people every day, just as talented as a lot of the adults that I've worked with over the years. I'm just getting them at the beginning of their rise to greatness. So it's just basically what I've learned is that high school students rock.
Okay.
Yes. After spending 7 months across the Atlantic Ocean, I still very much connect with the teachers here at Big Sky High School, especially the ones that had such a big hand in my senior year of high school. Not only senior year, but freshman, sophomore, and junior year as well. Teachers that kind of went above and beyond teaching just the subject, but also would step over maybe some boundaries they had in their heads about giving advice about things outside of school. And these are the teachers that I have strong connections with still. Yes, I definitely connect with teachers still.
How did you feel?
The Student Senate during my senior year of high school was a brand new program, and it was implemented in order to greater voice the opinion of students at Big Sky. And from my experience with it, I felt that it did just that. There was a group of kids selected from different classes within the high school, a very wide range of kids, and they were all brought together into one body. I mean, much like many governments you see around the world working, and they were able to take the voices from people around them in each individual class and bring them to this collective meeting. And then after the general impressions and ideas were brought into a group, action was able to be taken. And I think the Student Senate is just a great way to really voice or try to organize the will of a high school.
In your senior year, did
Senior study halls did help me. I would say in an unconventional way, though. I know a lot of my friends took the senior study hall to do schoolwork that was assigned to them in math class or English class or this or that. But I decided to take the senior study hall. I think I had 2 of them, and I took one of them and I tried to create a new class with it. I talked to Laura Lee Evans-Lynn and a music department teacher about doing kind of like a singer-songwriter class with the senior study hall. So I'd come in every morning with a guitar and I'd work on chords, I would work on small fills, I would try to work on different scales with the guitar, and then I would complement that with taking small little bits of creative writing. And I tried to create like a singer-songwriter class. And in the end, I learned that I learned a lot, I think, about responsibility in that. And I mean, I don't think I put as much time into it because I wasn't as extrinsically motivated to do these things as I was in classes like math or Spanish or other classes that I was getting a serious grade in. The senior study hall was more of a pass-fail grade. I mean, you can't get a B in senior study hall. And because that, just the way the system was set up, I think I was pressured to more care about the ones that would have a greater impact on my future. So I found that the senior study hall, for me, the way that I took it, and that was trying to go this route of creating my own thing out of it, taught me about responsibility in a good way. So I mean, for that reason, I'm for senior study halls. The gap year affected me, I'd say, in conjunction with this idea I just talked about with the responsibility with the senior study hall. That's exactly what the gap year did for me. I was just talking to someone recently, 20 minutes ago about this, and up and until I left my house on August 27th, 2009, I was a 19-year-old, but my dad, I found in time, my dad and mother had made so many of the decisions in my life for me, and being out exposed to so many new things without their influence directly right above you forces you to take those decisions on your own. And I found quickly that making your own decisions teaches you in a far more direct way than when someone else is in the driver's seat for you. So the gap year, which I took, was huge, just huge in terms of me taking accountability for my actions, taking accountability for my decisions, and that's just the tip of the iceberg on that question. But like the senior study hall, I'd say it was a big lesson on responsibility, and I'm completely an advocate for anyone who would like to take a gap year after